for being here today.
Speaking to Afghan journalists at the NATO base in Kabul, US General Scott Miller described the beginning of the end for foreign troops in Afghanistan.
All of our forces are now preparing to retrograde.
President Trump met with his national security team to discuss ongoing negotiations with the Taliban and the possible withdrawal of U.S. troops.
Again, the drawdown will affect 4,000 troops there.
President Trump ordering a drawdown of troops in Iraq and Afghanistan.
President Trump understood that the way to end those wars was to adopt a peace through strength approach to the world. He rebuilt the American military, which had been decimated by defense sequestration under the Obama administration.
I've concluded that it's time to end America's longest war. It's time for American troops to come home.
I remember the plan was in place, and President Biden referenced it yesterday because suddenly he doesn't want to break any plans that Donald Trump had. He said the pullout was supposed to happen in May. I extended it to 9/11.
After 20 years, I've learned the hard way that there was never a good time to withdraw U.S. forces.
This is why I'm enormously blessed and privileged to stand before you today to outline the next phase of our campaign.
It looks like the Biden administration has just failed in its execution of its own plan. It looks like they're now trying to get folks out. This reminds me of when we've seen previous administrations allow embassies to be overrun. It's starting to feel that way.
Is that there was never an exit strategy, no glide path out of Afghanistan. When I was in the Pentagon, the only thing I could find out was there was an intention to stay indefinitely.
Obviously, it was a mistake. So George Bush made a mistake. We can make mistakes, but that one was a beauty.
I have a window in my apartment that specifically was aimed at the World Trade Center because of the beauty of the whole downtown Manhattan. And I watched as people jumped, and I watched the second plane come in.
Who shall wear the starry crown, good Lord?
This is the first time President Bush was made aware. In the years since this moment, the president has talked about what he was thinking when he first got the news. But the president says he wanted to project a sense of calm for the Booker Elementary School students. It was an unbelievable moment that took place right here.
Maybe it's the calm before the storm. What's the storm? Could be the calm before the storm.
What storm, Mr. President?
You'll find out.
The stock market's at 24,000, and we went through the worst attack we've ever had on our country. This is really the worst attack we've ever had. This is worse than Pearl Harbor. This is worse than the World Trade Center. There's never been an attack like this.
Hey guys, PayDroV here. I want to talk about what is currently going on in Afghanistan. Now, we see things being played out, and there's so much diverse tactics in this particular agenda that they use the same programming for years, if you didn't notice. But maybe some of you did, even with Trump being added into the picture.
Iran is accusing Israel and promising revenge for the ambush shooting death of a top scientist who has been described as a key figure behind Iran's nuclear bomb program almost 2 decades ago.
Iran and Israel started out as allies, enjoying a good relationship for almost 30 years. But in West Asia, friendships don't last too long.
Last night, at my direction, the United States military successfully executed a flawless precision strike that killed the #1 terrorist anywhere in the world, Qasem Soleimani.
Now, the main point I really want to make is they have everyone focused on this. And at the end of the day, these wars are based on lies since 2001.
Look, this whole war on terror is a fraud. It's a farce. It's very difficult to say it out loud because people are intimidated against saying it. Because if you say it, they want to make you into a nutcase. The whole war on terror is a fraud. It's a farce. Yeah, there's a war going on in Iraq because we invaded Iraq. And people over there fighting, But the war on terror, it's a joke, And until we discover what really happened on 9/11 and who was responsible for 9/11, because that's where the war on terror emanates from. That's where it comes from. It was 9/11 that allowed this war on terror to begin. And until we get to the bottom root of 9/11, the truth of 9/11, we'll never know about the war on terror.
And now this being the longest war, and this really made me think about 2012, the whole Coney 2012 situation. Usually these people, when they want a war, of course propaganda comes to mind, but when it comes to push to shove, these people would bomb many people or even do whatever it means to get this all started.
My fellow Americans, today I want to update the world on our efforts to prevent Iran from acquiring a nuclear weapon. In theory, the so-called Iran deal was supposed to protect the United States and our allies, a weapon that will only endanger the survival.
Now, they make it seem these guys are making the decisions, but they aren't. That is why they had to play a certain part into this agenda, and I see the same programming being played out, and I had to shine some light on it.
This is a memo that describes how we're going to take out 7 countries in 5 years, starting with Iraq and then Syria, Lebanon, Libya, Somalia, Sudan, and finishing off Iran.
I also want to tell the enemy that we have open options, as I said before, the airstrikes if they happen. And I warned them that doesn't mean that we will respond to open land in Sheba farms. It could be at an open land in north of occupied Palestine. And from now, if any airstrikes target Lebanon, then all farmers and civilians at all of northern occupied Palestine to leave their lands. Our response might be at occupied Golan. Until then, we will assess and take the decision.
So while they have everyone focused on Afghanistan, we also see the CIA director in Israel. I wonder why.
As for Israel, they want Iran to be held accountable, and they're already shoring up their allies. CIA Director William Burns is in Tel Aviv holding talks with Iran high on the agenda.
Regarding the ship and on the issue of Iran in general, we are working to rally the world. But at the same time, we also know to act alone. Iran already knows the price we exact when someone threatens our security. The Iranians need to understand that it is impossible to sit placidly in Tehran and ignite the entire Middle East from there. That's over.
The CIA is always in countries where they usually start conflicts or even part of the conflicts. And this is where sometimes their programming gets exposed. They cause a problem, they look at the reaction, and find a solution to it all. It's a control tactic, and they have to do it on a large scale and on repeated programming, such as the media or using politicians. Even if it's in a place where they have control already, they can just push the agenda so that they can get the rest of the world caught up to that moment. So I just wanted to shine some light on that for you guys real quick. And with that all being said, have faith, remain vigilant, and God bless you all.